Hey guys, tonight we hold a piece of the universe's most extreme physics in the palm of your hand. You feel its impossible weight, a density that defies logic, a single point where all the rules you know simply cease to apply. It's a quiet, cold, and perfect darkness, a miniature abyss staring back at you. Let's be honest, if this were real, you probably wouldn't survive the encounter long enough to even appreciate the paradox. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. I'd love to see where everyone is listening from, so drop your city or country and the local time in the comments below. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself standing on a balcony overlooking Neo-Kyoto in the year 2242. The air is thick with the scent of synthetically engineered cherry blossoms and the faint, clean tang of ozone from the silent maglev vehicles gliding through canyons of shimmering glass and chrome. Your augmented reality overlay paints soft, glowing labels over the landmarks, but you filter them out, focusing instead on the crowd inside. This is a gathering of the 0.01%, the kind of people who don't just own continents, but have them custom landscaped. They drift through the penthouse apartment, their movements impossibly graceful, cocooned in personal energy shields that shimmer like heat haze whenever they get too close to one another. And around the neck of the host, a woman with eyes the colour of liquid mercury, you see it, the accretion locket. At first glance, it appears to be a simple, elegant piece of jewellery, a sphere of polished obsidian-like material, no larger than a quail's egg suspended on a chain of woven platinum. But as you watch, you notice something fundamentally wrong with it. The light from the room seems to bend unnaturally around its surface, not reflecting so much as getting pulled into its depths. At its very centre, there is a point of absolute blackness, a tiny pinprick of night that seems to drink the very concept of vision. It's not just dark, it's an absence. You're looking at a captive gravitational singularity, a microscopic black hole, tamed and weaponized for the sake of fashion and function. This isn't a mere power source, it's a personal star. The locket's primary function is to feed. Its sophisticated magnetic containment field, a marvel of engineering that warps space on a picometer scale, is designed with micro apertures. Through these, the singularity's immense gravity constantly siphons the world around it. It pulls in stray cosmic rays zipping down from the heavens, loose electrons from the air, particles of dust, even the photons from the ambient light. Anything with mass or energy that drifts too close is drawn past the locket's Schwarzschild radius, its point of no return. As this matter accelerates towards the singularity, it's torn apart, its mass converted into a torrent of pure energy, a perfect and terrifyingly efficient expression of Einstein's famous EMC2. This raw power is what fuels the wearer's entire personal ecosystem. It runs the shimmering energy shield that can deflect a high-velocity projectile. It powers the flawless augmented reality that layers their world with infinite data. It keeps their comms linked to a private orbital network and regulates their body temperature to a perfect 21 degrees Celsius, regardless of the external environment. They don't need to plug in. They don't need to recharge. They are self-contained islands of near-limitless power, all thanks to the caged monster resting against their sternum. Owning an accretion locket is the ultimate status symbol, a declaration that you not only have obscene wealth, but also the audacity to wear a pocket-sized doomsday device as an accessory. The insurance premiums alone could fund a small nation-state, and policies notoriously include an act of personal physics clause. It's a quiet, constant flex that whispers, "My convenience is worth the infinitesimal but non-zero risk of erasing this city block." A quirky little fact collectors of these lockets share is that the original prototypes, based on early 21st century tokamak fusion reactor designs, were the size of a small car intended to, well, get a little melty. It took decades to miniaturize the magnetic bottle and make it stable enough for even the most reckless billionaire to wear. But the stability is a carefully maintained illusion. The locket's user manual is rumored to be the most terrifying document in existence. Chapter 1: Polishing and Maintenance. Chapter 2: What to do in case of a containment field fluctuation. The advice is simple. You have approximately 1/10 of a second to live, so you may as well try to enjoy the view. A powerful enough jolt, a precisely targeted electromagnetic pulse, or even a critical software failure in the containment field's regulation system, and the balance is broken. The magnetic bottle would shatter. The singularity, freed from its cage, would touch the matter of the locket itself, then the flesh of its owner. The result wouldn't be a slow, cinematic sucking in. It would be an instantaneous, violent conversion. The wearer would simply cease to be, their entire mass converted to a blast of gamma rays and exotic particles in a fraction of a nanosecond. That initial burst would consume the surrounding air, the floor, the building, expanding outward in a sphere of absolute annihilation. There would be no explosion in the traditional sense, no fire, no sound travelling faster than the destruction itself. Just a rapidly growing bubble of nothingness where a moment before there was everything. It's a death so absolute it erases the very evidence of your existence. Scientists still argue whether information is truly lost when it crosses an event horizon, a deep debate known as the black hole information paradox. For the victim of a locket breach, the question is brutally academic. They, and everything they were, are simply gone. You look back at the woman across the room. She laughs, a tinkling sound that's probably been genetically engineered for maximum charm, and taps the locket with a long, elegant finger. To her, it is power. It is freedom. It is the ultimate expression of her place in the universe. But as you watch the light bend into its perfect, hungry darkness, you don't see jewelry. You see a leash. A chain holding back a god of entropy, and you can't help but wonder how long until it inevitably breaks. But while the titans of industry and the inheritors of old Martian money are busy strapping these miniature doomsday devices to their chests, you've learned that the most profound power isn't about what you can display, but what you can hide. Away from the glittering galas and solar yacht regattas, in the grey corridors of clandestine agencies and the silent backrooms of corporate espionage, a different kind of pocket singularity exists. It's not a fashion statement. It has no polished chrome or shimmering containment field. It's called a chrono key, and it's probably disguised as a pen, a cufflink, or a simple, worn-out fob of brushed grey metal. It's a tool, not a toy, and its function is far more insidious than simply powering a personal shield. It rewrites the rules of a single moment. You hold one now. It feels cool and inert in your palm, giving no hint of the controlled chaos within. At its heart isn't just any microscopic black hole, but a very specific type, a Kerr-Newman singularity. It's not just massive, it's spinning at a significant fraction of the speed of light and carries a precise electrical charge. This isn't for power generation. This is for warping the very fabric of reality. Einstein's theory of general relativity predicted this over a century ago, the phenomenon of frame dragging. A massive rotating object doesn't just sit in space-time, it twists it, pulling the temporal dimension along with it like a submerged bowling ball spinning in a vat of thick honey. The old Gravity Probe B satellite, a comparatively quaint piece of 21st century hardware, measured this effect around Earth, detecting a minuscule warp of a few dozen milliarc seconds. The chronokey, however, creates a warp so violent, so localized, that it's less like a gentle swirl in honey and more like hitting a slushie with an industrial blender. When you activate it, the key's spinning singularity drags local space-time into a vortex, creating a bubble of extremely dilated time just a few meters across. To an observer, you would simply vanish for a few seconds and reappear somewhere else. But for you, inside the bubble, the world outside grinds to an almost complete stop. You press the activation stud. There's no sound, no flash of light, just a sudden, profound silence that presses in on your eardrums. The frantic shouts of guards down the hallway become a low guttural hum, like a record playing at 1 RPM. The flickering fluorescent light overhead is now a solid, unwavering bar of cold illumination. A spray of bullets, fired a moment ago, now hangs in the air before you, a static constellation of brass and lead. You can walk around them, admire the spiral grooves carved into their sides by the rifle's barrel, even see the heat shimmering off their tips. You have all the time in the world, except you don't. The clock on the wall shows that only 3 seconds have passed. For you, subjectively, it's been nearly 2 hours. 2 hours of complete and utter solitude, trapped with nothing but your own thoughts while the universe holds its breath. This is the terrible price of the chronokey. The psychological toll is immense. In that first hour, you might accomplish your mission, bypass the security system, download the files, and plant the counter-surveillance device. But what do you do with the second hour? You're left alone, watching a raindrop crawl down a window pane, tracing the life history of a dust mote dancing in a frozen sunbeam. You're forced to confront every bad decision you've ever made, every awkward conversation from high school, and whether you really should have had that second burrito for lunch. It's a form of solitary confinement measured in heartbeats. This experience mirrors a strange, well-documented quirk of human perception known as tachypsychia, where in moments of extreme danger, like a car crash, people report time slowing down dramatically. The chronokey weaponizes this phenomenon, stretching it from a fleeting sensation into a drawn-out, sanity-shredding ordeal. Worse than the loneliness is the cumulative effect, a condition the key's few, haunted users call temporal drift. Each activation desynchronizes you just a little more from the normal flow of time. At first, it's minor. You find yourself answering questions a half second before they're finished, or you misjudge the speed of a closing door. But with repeated use, the drift becomes severe. Conversations become disjointed symphonies where you hear the notes out of order. Your own reflexes betray you, caught between the lightning-fast world of the bubble and the mundane pace of reality. You become a ghost in your own life, perpetually out of sync. It remains a topic of contention among the shadow scientists who created these devices whether temporal drift is a neurological degradation, the brain circuitry failing to reconcile the two temporal realities, or a genuine schism in your personal timeline, a fundamental break from the universe's consensus. Either way, the end result is the same: a slow, inexorable slide into a state of permanent dissociation. The accretion locket might kill you and your entire city block in a brilliant flash of annihilation, a spectacular and mercifully quick end. The chrono key offers a far crueler fate. It lets you live, but it peels you away from the world, moment by stolen moment, until there's nothing left but a confused echo in an empty room. The jittery, time-stretched adrenaline from your last encounter with the chrono key finally begins to fade, replaced by the profound, sterile silence of the deep space observatory known as the Quiet Room. The air here is recycled, yes, but it feels cleaner, colder, scrubbed of the temporal static that clings to you like a phantom limb. You float in the zero-gravity chamber, your boots magnetized to the observation deck, looking at the reason you were pulled from active duty. It hangs in the center of the spherical room, suspended in a web of interlocking magnetic fields and gravitic lenses so precise they make a watchmaker's tools look like hammers. It is a perfect sphere of absolute blackness, no larger than a marble, and it does not reflect a single photon of the chamber's soft diagnostic lights. This is the Event Horizon Archive. It was discovered by a long-range survey team drifting silently in the Oort cloud, encased in a crystalline lattice that shattered the moment their sensors touched it. Initially, it was flagged as just another anomaly, maybe an exotic particle or a natural microsingularity. Some of the more imaginative members of the fringe science community even drew parallels to the old Black Knight satellite conspiracy theory from the 20th century. The idea of an ancient alien probe in a near-polar orbit of Earth. This, however, was no inert piece of junk. It was something far stranger. This tiny object is stable, impossibly so, and it doesn't seem to be accreting any matter. It just is. At its core, the archive is a black hole, a point of infinite density where the laws of physics as you know them go to take a long, permanent nap. But its true nature is revealed not by what it consumes, but by what it emits. You know the theory, of course. Stephen Hawking, back in 1974, proposed that black holes aren't entirely black. Due to quantum effects at the event horizon, they should leak a faint thermal glow, now called Hawking radiation. For a black hole of this minuscule size, that radiation should be a chaotic, random fizz of particles, a final whisper as it slowly evaporates over eons. But the radiation from the archive isn't random, it's structured, it's a signal. You watch the holographic displays surrounding the sphere. They translate the particle emissions into cascading waterfalls of light and sound. It's not a language, not yet. It's more like the ghost of a signal, a complex repeating pattern that carries an impossible amount of information. The working theory is as terrifying as it is brilliant. An ancient civilization, facing an extinction-level event, perhaps the heat death of their universe, or an enemy they couldn't defeat, chose not to flee, but to endure. They converted their entire existence, every book, every piece of art, every genetic sequence, and perhaps every conscious mind, into pure information, and encoded it into the singularity itself. They built their own library of Alexandria, but instead of papyrus scrolls, they used the fabric of space-time, creating the ultimate unbreachable hard drive. The user manual, unfortunately, appears to have been stored on the drive itself, which feels like a classic engineering oversight. This discovery is a potential answer to the Fermi paradox, that great cosmic silence that has haunted humanity for centuries. Where is everybody? Well, maybe they're right here, just waiting for someone with the right universal serial bus adapter to plug them in. the secrets locked inside could solve everything: disease, energy, mortality. It could elevate humanity into a Type 3 civilization on the Kardashev scale practically overnight. But here lies the dilemma that has frozen the project in ethical gridlock. The radiation is faint, a mere echo. To get a clearer signal, to truly read the data, the project's lead scientists propose feeding the archive. By carefully dropping precise amounts of mass into it, they could stimulate a stronger, more coherent burst of Hawking radiation. They could, in effect, turn up the volume. And that's where you come in. Your superiors want a fresh perspective, an agent's perspective, unburdened by academic dogma. They want to know if this is an opportunity or a trap. Because the opposition has a point, one that keeps the station's philosophers and ethicists awake during their sleep cycles. What if the signal isn't just data? What if it's the conscious experience of trillions of minds, trapped in an eternal timeless moment within the singularity? It remains a topic of intense contention, whether the patterns are a true signal representing stored knowledge or the quantum death screams of a digitized population. If they are in fact still alive in some incomprehensible way, then feeding the black hole to read their minds isn't archaeology, it's vivisection on a civilizational scale. You would be torturing ghosts for their knowledge. Is this a library? A final desperate act of preservation? Or is it a mausoleum? A tomb for a people who chose oblivion over extinction? And you're standing here contemplating desecrating it for your own gain? The cascading lights on the display pulse in a soft rhythmic pattern, almost like a heartbeat. You float there, suspended in the quiet, feeling the immense weight of the choice. You've faced down assassins and navigated temporal paradoxes, but this is different. This isn't about survival, it's about the soul of your entire species. And the ghostly signal continues its silent, patient broadcast, waiting for you to decide what it is you're actually hearing. From the near-holy reverence of a mausoleum containing an entire civilization, you must now pivot to the profane. It is a jarring but necessary turn, because for every profound application of a new science, there is an equal and opposite application that is brutal, efficient, and deeply pragmatic. While one team of xenoarchaeologists carefully calibrates sensors to listen to the whispers of a dead alien race, another group, in a shielded lab 1,000 light-years away, calibrates a device designed to create absolute immediate silence. You move from the ultimate act of preservation to the ultimate act of erasure. The question of whether the Event Horizon Archive is a library or a tomb becomes almost academic when you are faced with a tool that turns a living, breathing person into a closed book that no one can ever read again. It's a sobering reminder that the same physics that can store a galaxy of thought can also be weaponized to extinguish a single one with terrifying finality. You are now in the world of covert operations, a realm where shadows have shadows and the most valuable currency is deniability. Here, the most feared instrument is not a hypersonic railgun or a biotoxin, but something that looks deceptively simple, often mistaken for a high-end data stylus or a compact grav scanner. It has no barrel, no trigger in the conventional sense, and no magazine. It is called the Kugelblitz Ghost Gun. The name itself is a nod to a theoretical concept from 20th century physics, proposed by John Wheeler, suggesting that if you concentrate enough energy, any kind of energy, but light is the most elegant, into a small enough space, that energy can collapse under its own gravitational influence and form a black hole. It's EMC2 taken to its most extreme and logical conclusion. For decades, it was a fascinating thought experiment. Now it rests in your hand. To call it a gun is a misnomer. It doesn't fire a projectile. There is no kinetic impact. No messy ballistics to trace. When you activate it, the device unleashes a blindingly intense, perfectly collimated pulse of gamma rays, focused onto a single point in space that can be meters or even kilometers away. For a duration so brief it makes a lightning strike seem like a geologic era, a few femtoseconds, the energy density at that target point becomes astronomical. It exceeds what physicists call the Schwarzschild limit for that concentration of energy. The fabric of space-time itself gives way. For an infinitesimal moment, a microscopic black hole, a true Kugelblitz, is born not from matter, but from pure light. You don't see this happen. You couldn't. The event is too fast, the scale too small. What you perceive is a sudden, silent pinpoint of impossible light, followed by an instantaneous absence. The target, a corporate rival, a political dissident, a rogue agent, is simply gone. The microsingularity is catastrophically unstable. It exists for less time than it takes a light beam to cross a proton before it evaporates completely in a ferocious burst of Hawking radiation. This isn't a slow fizzle, it's a violent, microscopic explosion of fundamental particles. The target is not shot, they're disassembled, atomized. Every bond holding every molecule together is annihilated in a wave of gamma rays, neutrinos, and other exotic particles. The effect is so total that it leaves behind almost nothing. No entry wound, no scorch marks, no chemical residue. Just a lingering shimmer of heated air and the faint, unsettling smell of ozone. Your classic silenced pistol with a comically oversized suppressor suddenly seems very, very quaint. The operational implications are chilling. An assassination carried out with a Kugelblitz gun is indistinguishable from a freak accident. There is no body to recover. Forensic teams might find some trace radioactive isotopes in the surrounding area, but these are often consistent with background radiation, or could be explained away by 1,000 other sources. Physicists still argue whether the specific particle shower from the Hawking evaporation would carry a unique, identifiable signature, but since the target and any immediate evidence are also converted into fundamental particles, collecting proof is a bit like trying to bottle a lightning strike with a teacup. The official report will likely conclude with a shrug, perhaps citing unexplained atmospheric phenomenon, or, if the coroner has a flair for the dramatic, even suggesting spontaneous human combustion, a fringe conspiracy theory that has suddenly, terrifyingly, become the perfect cover story. Imagine the psychological effect. You're not just ending a life, you're erasing it from the physical record. It's a violation on a metaphysical level. You pull a trigger, a person falls. That is an act of violence. You press a stud, a person vanishes. That is an act of deletion. It creates a void, not just in the world, but in history itself. There is no closure, no crime scene to investigate, only a missing persons report that will eventually go cold. The power of such a weapon isn't just in its lethality, but in its ambiguity. It fosters a specific kind of paranoia. Leaders and influential figures no longer just fear bullets from a rooftop or bombs in a motorcade. They fear the very air around them, knowing it could momentarily collapse into a pocket of nothingness that would swallow them whole. It's the ultimate ghost story made real. A pocket-sized tool for making people disappear, turning flesh and bone into a brief forgotten whisper in the quantum foam. And so, you move on from the manufactured violence of pure energy, from the terrifying, instantaneous scream of a man-made singularity designed to erase. You turn your attention from a weapon forged to a jewel found, a relic that is not a tool of humanity's devising, but a genuine artifact from the dawn of time itself. Before you, suspended in a web of magnetic fields and gravitic stabilizers, is an object that makes all other jewels on Earth look like cheap costume pieces. It is a diamond, yes, but not one born of mere planetary pressure. This is a deep space diamond, likely forged in the heart of a long-dead carbon star, discovered by a lonely automated mining drone tumbling through the Oort cloud. It is the size of a human heart, and its clarity is so absolute, it seems to absorb the light around it, leaving a void where a gem should be. But its true value isn't the crystal lattice, it's the prisoner held within. At its very centre you can see it if you strain your eyes, or, more accurately, you can see the effect of it. A tiny, almost imperceptible distortion in the light passing through the diamond, a single point where the universe is bent out of shape. This is the primordial tear, a microscopic black hole not created by the collapse of a star, but forged in the chaotic high-energy furnace of the Big Bang itself. This is a genuine fossil from the universe's infancy, from the first second of existence. According to theory, during that impossibly dense and turbulent period, quantum fluctuations in the cosmic soup could have compressed some regions so intensely that they collapsed directly into black holes without ever having been stars. This is one of those theoretical relics, a primordial black hole, or PBH, made real. Scientists still argue whether the conditions of the early universe were truly conducive to their formation in any significant number, but the existence of this single specimen has rather emphatically ended that particular debate. The new debate is infinitely more profound. The diamond acts as a perfect cage. Discovered by accident, its immense crystalline strength has held the PBH in a state of suspended animation for billions of years. Its gravitational field locked within the atomic structure, unable to feed and grow. But it is not entirely inert. Like all black holes, it leaks, it evaporates. You're watching a live broadcast of Stephen Hawking's most famous theory, Hawking radiation. On the monitors surrounding the containment chamber, you see the output. It's a faint ethereal whisper of particles, photons, neutrinos, gravitons, bleeding away from the event horizon. This isn't the violent burst of a Kugelblitz weapon. This is the slow, cosmic exhalation of a dying ghost. And within that exhalation, scientists believe they have found a message. The radiation is not random static. There is a structure to it, a faint but discernible pattern encoded in the quantum spin and energy levels of the emitted particles. It's a signal, a broadcast from the beginning of everything. The prevailing hypothesis is that as the black hole formed, it trapped the fundamental physical state of the universe at that precise moment. The laws of physics as they were then, before the fundamental forces split apart, before symmetry was broken, were encoded on its event horizon. This is a far-out cousin of the holographic principle, the quirky theoretical concept that suggests all the information about the volume of a space can be represented on its boundary. Here, the boundary of this tiny black hole might just contain a blueprint for the entire cosmos. Now, as it evaporates, it's broadcasting that information back out into the universe, one particle at a time. It is quite literally a message in a bottle thrown from the shores of the Big Bang. You watch the team of scientists in the observation chamber. They move with a kind of hushed, reverent urgency. They're a mix of cosmologists, cryptographers, and quantum physicists, all working on the universe's ultimate cold case. Their task is monumental: to decipher the grammar of creation from the quantum whispers of a dying singularity. The problem is time. The tear is vanishingly small, perhaps only the mass of a large mountain compressed into a space smaller than a proton, and as a black hole loses mass, its rate of evaporation increases exponentially. It's a cosmic death spiral. For billions of years it barely changed, but now its decay is accelerating. The faint whisper is becoming a clearer murmur, and soon it will become a shout, culminating in a final, silent, but incredibly powerful burst of gamma rays as the last of its mass converts into pure energy. They have to capture and decode the message before that final, silent pop. Every particle is collected by hypersensitive detectors, its properties logged and cross-referenced in massive quantum data arrays. They are searching for the universal constants, for the primordial laws, for an answer to the question of why the universe is the way it is. Was the fine-tuning of our cosmos a fluke? Or is there an underlying logic, a cosmic DNA, encrypted in this relic? It's the most important archaeological dig in history, and the site is collapsing in real time. It feels a bit like trying to listen to the universe's first and only podcast while someone is sitting on the fast-forward button. One scientist jokes that they're hoping to find the recipe for dark matter, or at least get a definitive answer on the whole Schrödinger's cat situation. But beneath the gallows humour, the tension is palpable. The data stream is becoming richer, the patterns more defined, but the energy output is also climbing. They're in a race against the inevitable heat death of their only clue. They might be on the verge of understanding the mind of God, or they might just be about to watch their one and only chance fade into a burst of static, taking the secrets of creation with it. From the silent, ancient whisper of a primordial relic, you pivot to the deliberate, deafening roar of human ambition. If the primordial tear was the universe's first faint word, then what you're about to see is humanity's attempt to write an entire epic poem using the same ink. You leave the sterile quiet of the quantum observatory behind and step into the hushed, reverent atmosphere of a different kind of temple, the modern art gallery. The air here doesn't smell of ozone and cooled electronics, but of money, pretension, and the faint, unnerving tang of warped space-time. It's a scent you can't quite place, like static electricity and freshly turned earth, and it makes the fine hairs on your arms stand up. Welcome to the world of the gravity weavers. These aren't painters or sculptors in any classical sense. They don't work with clay, marble, or oil. Their medium is the very fabric of reality, and their brush is one of the most sublime and terrifying tools ever conceived, the gravity weaver's stylus. You see one now displayed in a vacuum-sealed case like a holy relic. It's a sleek, unassuming rod of polished black tungsten, no larger than a conductor's baton, with a tip that seems to drink the light around it, leaving a pinpoint of perfect matte nothingness. Nestled within that tip, suspended in a cascade of interlocking magnetic and gravitational fields, is a meticulously controlled micro-black hole. It's a captured star heart, a taming god, ready to bend the cosmos to the artist's will. You walk through the gallery and the exhibits defy all logic. To your left is a piece titled Laniakea in miniature. It appears to be a swirling, self-contained nebula, no bigger than a car hanging in the middle of the room. Tiny motes of dust and ice pulled from a dispenser in the ceiling are drawn into elegant, impossible spirals. They orbit the artwork's invisible gravitational center, their light bent and smeared into stunning ethereal wisps of color. It's a living galaxy, a cosmic dance choreographed by the artist. This isn't a projection or a hologram, it's real matter following real gravitational laws, just laws that have been temporarily rewritten within that specific volume of space. It's a direct application of Einstein's general relativity, treating space-time not as a stage, but as the clay itself. You move to the next installation, which looks at first like an empty room cordoned off by velvet ropes. The plaque calls it an afternoon stretched. As you watch, a museum attendant steps inside to dust a pedestal in the far corner. You see them enter, move with agonizing slowness for what feels like a full minute, and then exit the space in a sudden blur. You've just witnessed a temporal sculpture, the artist using the frame-dragging effect of a spinning singularity, a concept first described by physicists Kerr and Newman, has sculpted the flow of time itself. Near the entrance, time moves normally, but as you move deeper into the room, space-time is so twisted that a single second for an observer inside could be minutes for the outside world. It's the ultimate expression of capturing a fleeting moment by literally stretching it out. It's also, you imagine, a fantastic way to be late for absolutely everything. It remains a topic of contention among both physicists and art critics, whether these installations are truly stable. Some argue they are masterpieces of sustained gravitational engineering, while others contend they're simply incredibly slow-motion collapses, elegant disasters in waiting, their eventual doom measured in centuries rather than seconds. The insurance policies for these galleries must be an absolute nightmare to read. You can almost picture the fine print: coverage void in the event of unscheduled singularity evaporation, local space-time unraveling, or creation of a new art-induced universe in the gallery basement. In the central hall, an artist is giving a live demonstration. She stands before a large empty frame, her face a mask of serene concentration. Her stylus hums softly, its tip a void that seems to pull your gaze into it. She isn't touching anything, yet as she moves her hand in a slow, deliberate arc, the light passing through the frame begins to bend. Colours separate as if through a prism, then twist back on themselves, forming a shimmering, fluid knot of pure luminescence. It's a form of gravitational lensing, the same phenomenon that allows astronomers to see distant galaxies warped around massive cosmic objects, but here it's being used to paint. She is using gravity to create a structure that has no substance, only shape. There's a strange, almost fringe belief among the weavers themselves. Some claim they can feel the texture of space-time before they sculpt it, a kind of gravitational synesthesia where they perceive ripples and currents invisible to any instrument. They talk about smooth regions of space-time, ideal for temporal works, and brittle regions that can only support light sculptures. It's unproven, of course, but watching the artist's focused expression, it's hard to dismiss entirely. She's like Michelangelo, who famously said he was not creating the statue of David, but merely chipping away the marble that surrounded it. This artist, however, is chipping away at the rules of the universe. Suddenly, a barely perceptible flicker. The light sculpture wavers, its colours blurring for a nanosecond. A collective, silent gasp ripples through the onlookers. The artist doesn't flinch, her hand moving in a tiny counteractive gesture. The sculpture stabilizes, its impossible form snapping back into sharp focus. The hum from her stylus returns to its steady low thrum. In that moment, everyone in the room was acutely aware that a single miscalculation, a tremor in the artist's hand, or a minor power fluctuation wouldn't just ruin the piece. It would cause the micro black hole in the stylus to breach its containment. The result wouldn't be a splash of paint on the floor. It would be a rapidly expanding sphere of annihilation that would gratefully consume the artist, her art, the audience, and this entire wing of the museum, leaving behind nothing but a perfectly clean slate and a few confused seismologists. It is the most sublime form of expression, and it is balanced on the very edge of oblivion. The beauty is breathtaking, but it's a beauty that forces you to hold your breath just in case, which is why the most profound applications are often the most intimate. The art is sublime, a worthy pursuit for a species that has conquered so much, but it remains an external act. The final frontier, as they always say, isn't out there among the stars, but in here, inside the fragile temporary vessel of the self. And that is where you now carry your own pocket universe. You don't feel it, not in the way you feel a heartbeat or a breath. It's an absence. It is the silence where the slow, grinding decay of your own cells used to be. Deep in your core, nestled within a bio-integrated cradle of force fields, floats a singularity. It is the ultimate expression of a radical, forbidden biohacking movement, and you are one of its converts. You are a singularity symbiote host, a void. The procedure was less a surgery and more an installation. Done in a sterile, illegal clinic hidden in the warrens of a sublunar city, it was quiet, efficient, and terrifying. They introduced the microscopic black hole, no bigger than a proton, into your system. Its containment field, a self-regenerating quantum lattice powered by the very thing it contains, flickered to life. And then, stillness. The process of aging simply stopped. In biology, there's a concept known as the Hayflick limit, first postulated by Leonard Hayflick back in the 1960s. It's the simple, unavoidable fact that most of your cells can only divide a certain number of times, around 50 give or take, before they enter a state of senescence. They stop replicating. They become biological dead ends, contributing to the slow, inevitable failure of the system. Your system. The symbiote changed that. It is the perfect waste disposal unit, an impossibly efficient organelle that patrols your body on a quantum level. It seeks out senescent cells, cellular debris, and even rogue viral particles. It doesn't destroy them, it consumes them. It draws them into its infinitesimal accretion disk, and their mass is converted with perfect efficiency into energy. That energy sustains the containment field and trickles out to power your own renewed biology, repairing damage with youthful vigor. It's like having an over-enthusiastic Roomba for your bloodstream, except this one is powered by a collapsed star. You look in the mirror and see the same face you saw 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Your friends grow older, their hair thins, lines deepen around their eyes, their movements slow. You remain, a fixed point in their flowing river of time. At first it was a secret triumph. Now it is a source of profound isolation. They know, of course. They can see it. They look at you with a mixture of awe, envy, and a deep, primal fear. You are a walking time bomb. Society views the voids as abominations, a reckless defiance of the natural order. They aren't wrong. You live in a state of quiet, constant dread. Every system check your internal sensors run. A soft chime only you can hear is a moment of held breath. You avoid high-impact sports, magnetic resonance scanners, and frankly, overly enthusiastic hugs. The warranty on the containment field was essentially a philosophical shrug from the back-alley doctor who performed the procedure. The fringe tidbit they don't tell you in the biohacker manifestos is that there's no off switch. The quest for immortality is as old as humanity, but this solution is uniquely terrifying. It solves the problem of decay, but replaces it with the possibility of instantaneous total annihilation. If the field fails for even a nanosecond, the singularity would touch your matter. The result wouldn't be an explosion in the conventional sense. It would be an implosion, a sphere of nothingness, starting with you and expanding outwards at the speed of light, consuming everything it touched until the microscopic black hole evaporated in a final furious burst of Hawking radiation. You wouldn't just die, you would be the epicenter of your own personal apocalypse, and so you live a careful life, a quiet life. You watch civilizations rise and fall on the news feeds, you see ideologies come and go, you watch the very language people speak evolve into new dialects. You're a living fossil, a repository of memories that are losing their context. There remains a significant scholarly debate about the long-term psychological stability of voids. Can a consciousness, designed for a roughly 100-year run, truly endure for 1,000 or 10,000? Does the mind, unmoored from the biological imperative of aging and death, eventually fray into something unrecognizable? You sometimes feel it at night, a sense of temporal vertigo, as if you're a ghost haunting your own unending life. You have paid for eternal life not with your soul, but with your place in the flow of everything. You are a stone in the river, and the water of time simply parts around you, leaving you smooth, unchanged, and utterly alone. The low thrum is there now, a feeling more than a sound, the gentle hum of your own personal eternity ticking away inside you. You are the ultimate paradox, a being of flesh and blood, powered by a hole in space-time, a life sustained by a pinpoint of absolute death. And as you look out your window at the city lights, a tapestry of fleeting lives, you wonder if you made a deal with the devil, or if you simply became a new kind of god, destined to watch the universe grow old around you. The quiet dread begins to fade, as it always does, replaced by the gentle, constant reality of your existence. The soft, subaudible hum from the symbiote at your core is not a threat, but a lullaby, a constant whisper that you are here, you are now, and you will be tomorrow. The frantic pace of the world outside your window, the flickering lights and the distant sirens, all of it seems to slow down, cushioned by the immense silent gravity you carry within. Your thoughts, no longer racing against a biological clock, stretch and drift like clouds in a vast empty sky, allowing you to contemplate the slow turning of the galaxy as if it were the turning of a page in a book you have all the time in the world to read. The fear of failure, of that one catastrophic moment, recedes into the background, becoming just another part of the texture of forever, a distant possibility smoothed over by the ceaseless, gentle tide of the present. And as you settle into the calm, you can feel the universe breathing with you, its grand cosmic cycles echoed in the silent, perfect engine that grants you your endless days and your impossibly long nights. The lights of the city blur into a soft river of gold, and you feel yourself drifting, not into sleep, but into a deeper state of being, a peaceful awareness that you are a silent, eternal watcher, a part of the quiet, starry dark. Just breathe. Let the universe hum its steady, quiet song. Everything is calm now. Everything is okay. Just rest.